How's the conflict between the Ukraine and Russia affecting the housing market here in the US? Welcome back to another real estate market update. I'm Erik Braceland with Braceland Homes here in San Diego, California, where we guarantee the sale and or purchase of your home. Here on the Braceland Homes channel, we cover topics related to buying and selling residential real estate and trends happening across the housing market, with new videos every Thursday. I want to quickly thank all of you that have been watching. We broke a small milestone of 100 subscribers in the Braceland Homes channel last week. So thank you very much if you're one of those awesome subscribers. Really excited about that. If you haven't already joined our little party, please subscribe now. I'd love to have you on the team. Sonata is a super family-friendly neighborhood of single-family homes that was built in the hills of Escondido in the 80s, with great walking distance proximity to dining, shopping, golf, parks, hiking, schools. I used to live in this community and loved it. We've talked a lot about home price appreciation in the past, and I'm sure you want to know where that's headed after our inflation talk last week. And as we think about rising prices in general, if you haven't already gotten it from my clever image here, home prices are projected to continue rising, believe it or not. Let's take a look at this graph from the Home Price Expectation Survey. I think this gives you a real clear picture of where home prices are projected to go, according to leading experts in the field. Now, the Home Price Expectation Survey is a survey of 100 economists. These are data analysts, people who are projecting out home price appreciation. And in the fourth quarter of last year, this is the projection for cumulative house appreciation by 2026. So what are we looking at? They divided out the group into optimists and pessimists. Optimists being the ones projecting the most appreciation over the next 5 years, and pessimists estimating on the lower side. Take a look at that orange bar on the right. Those are the pessimists. The experts that are considered pessimists are saying that cumulative home price appreciation by 2026 is going to be over 23% on the low side. Pretty substantial, even on the low side. Then you can see the optimist experts are projecting over 62% cumulative home price appreciation over the next 5 years on the high side. And finally, if we average the opinions on all these expert economists, we see we're looking at a gain of just over 43%. So then, what's projected to happen? Home values are expected to increase in value over time, as they normally do, but at a pretty significant rate over the next 5 years. Now, this is pretty important to those of you thinking of making a move. Here's my stern, serious face for emphasis. Locking in today's cost is mission critical for those of you who have the opportunity to do so. Last week's video, titled Hedge Against Inflation with Real Estate, was all about this, and I'll leave a link in the description below. But you want to protect yourselves from rising interest rates, and that we'll talk about in just a minute, and rising prices that are all around us by locking in your largest monthly payment with a mortgage. Now let's talk a little bit about mortgage interest rates. A lot of you are probably wondering about Russia and Ukraine and how that tragic situation is going to affect things. So let's take a look at where we are today, and then I'll keep you posted as we move forward with fresh updates on what's happening with this mortgage rates. Right now we're seeing a bit of a reprieve with the rise in interest rates. Freddie Mac saying geopolitical tensions caused U.S. Treasury yields to recede this week as investors moved to the safety of bonds, leading to a drop in mortgage rates. While inflationary pressures remain, the cascading impacts of the war in Ukraine have created market uncertainty. Consequently, rates are expected to stay low in the short term, but will likely increase in the coming months. So as of last week, looks like things have indeed cooled a bit from the peak of 3.92% in February. So 3 takeaways here. First, they reference the Treasury yield because historically, interest rates tend to follow the trajectory of the 10-year Treasury yield. So it's a good indicator of how things will shake out. Second, there's market uncertainty because of the war. And third, rates are only expected to stay low for a short time. So there is a window of opportunity here if you are planning to make a move. And as always, I want to present those opportunities to you whenever they appear. I want to address the war briefly because it's an awful and significant crisis that deserves attention. While there is often opportunity associated with periods of crisis, I certainly don't want to discount or gloss over the tragedy that is happening there in any way. I know it can be really easy for those of us that aren't involved to take our liberties for granted. I find myself, even as a retired military service member, whining about the rising prices of this or that, and other relatively insignificant things from time to time. So just take a moment and consider that's the worst you have going on in your life. I believe that Putin is the worst, and what he is doing is completely terrible. My heart really goes out to you people suffering in Ukraine. Stay safe and God bless. Back to our housing market update, we have a visual showing us the progression of mortgage rates going back to January of 2020. You can clearly see where rates dropped to a low of almost 3% in January of last year during the pandemic, another period of crisis and opportunity, and then slowly rising up to almost 4% last month. And you see the roughly quarter-point dip as the conflict with Russia and Ukraine really heated up. Here we have another quote from the National Association of Realtors saying something very similar to Freddie Mac. Following the trend of the 10-year Treasury yield, mortgage rates will likely fall, remaining below 3.9% this week. However, expect mortgage rates to rise later in this month as the Fed will raise interest rates. Again, they touch on the 10-year Treasury yield I spoke about earlier and how it's a great indicator of where mortgage rates will go. And they also emphasize that rates won't remain low. NAR also mentions the Fed, which doesn't control mortgage rates, but does have influence over them. The First American Financial Corporation echoes these previous sentiments with this. The 10-year Treasury yield is down, likely in response to the worsening Russia-Ukraine conflict, and mortgage rates may follow suit. Let's take a look at the 10-year Treasury yield here. You can see how it looks a lot like the right half of the graph we saw earlier showing mortgage rate changes, and why it might be such a good indicator of that mortgage rate trajectory. Just like the mortgage rate graph, it starts low in January of last year and then climbs through the beginning of February, finally dropping off in mid-February. But it's already coming back up in March, so we may see that increase in mortgage rates resume any day. I do want to put this in perspective for you, and this graph does a great job of that. Even with mortgage interest rates rising, where we are today is still lower than where mortgage rates have been at any time over the last 50 years. Think about that. It's just really amazing. Look at the double-digit interest rates in the 80s. Yes, home prices are nuts, but as I've demonstrated in the past, home prices and mortgage rates tend to rise together. If you have a move in your future, sooner really is better rather than later for many reasons right now. Great low mortgage rates that are rising and high home prices that are only getting higher are two of the big ones. If you missed my last video, check out the link in the description to see how you can also use your real estate as a hedge against inflation. If you've enjoyed this content or found it helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you will never miss a new video. It really does mean a lot and keeps me motivated to produce more free content. And please share this content with someone you think might benefit from it. That's all from now. I'm Erik Braceland, and thanks once again for tuning in and watching us here on the Braceland Homes channel. Thank you for increasing your financial literacy and considering real estate as a way to make things happen for you and your family. Make sure you join us every Thursday to get up to speed on all the current housing market changes. You will enjoy a better, more successful real estate experience because of it. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you right back here next week.